In this lesson, we'll be using Adobe Photoshop to cut slices and to ultimately create a table with the cut graphics held within the table cells and saved as an HTML file and a set of graphic files. I've already got a file open here of a navigation bar. I'll just scroll across here. And I'm going to demonstrate how to cut slices for these buttons in this tab metaphor near the top. The first thing I'm going to do is go up to my View pull-down menu, over to Show, and make sure that my View Slices is turned on. Now you will see one generic slice to begin with when you've turned that view on. If I go over to my tool palette, the Slice tool is the third tool down on the right. And it does have a hidden tool, so make sure you do choose the Slice tool and not the Slice Select tool. So I'll choose that now. And when cutting slices, what you're actually doing is generating table cells with the graphic that will be cut and placed inside of that table cell. So it's pretty important to be very precise, so I will zoom in and drag my page around and establish a slice. I'll do my first slice. I'll just do these yellow buttons at the top here. So I click and I drag. Now I'm going to zoom in even closer because this first slice is very important because I will replicate it along the horizon, along the horizontal, and just change the width. So I'm going to go in and make sure I catch the shadow here. That's right. Make it tight. Turn off my snap. It seems to be snapping to something below here. There we go. Okay, so that's my first slice. It's going to be the home button. So I should give this a name because when it saves the file, it will save it according to that name. And I will double click it to establish that. Here are my slice options. I do want it to be an image slice, and I will give it a name. I'll go BUT underscore, short for button, home. And I'm going to be making two sets of these to create rollover features inside of my HTML page. So I will go underscore A for the first set. Click OK. And then move my page over a little bit. Now, with my Slice Select tool, I can hold my Option key down, click and drag, and I'll hold my Shift key down as well, and line that up to the next button on the left side. I'm working in a small space, so I do need to scroll across. And just stretch that out to the edge of the 1 pixel wide shadow. Now I've got the local news button. I will double click that and keep the naming convention and the series letter, but I will change the name of the button to local news. Click OK, and I should be saving my file. So I'll do a save as and save it to the desktop. I'll call it top nav red slices underscore slices. Save. There we go. And carry on. So I'll zoom out one level, maybe two here. Grab that slice with the Option key down, then hold my Shift key to constrain it. Line it up to the edge of that button on the left and resize the right side to fit within the shadow. Double click it, rename it. This one is Campus News, and I will name it accordingly. Campus News underscore A. Save, carry on. I do have a file that's complete, so I'm going to pull it in here now. Now these are already sliced and named, so the next step, once I've completed all of my slices, you can see here I actually went even further. I've got slices for the radio buttons and the search button. But now I'm ready to export this as an HTML file with a folder containing all of the images that will be placed inside of the individual table cells that have been derived from these slices that I've made. So let's do that now. We'll go to File, Save for Web and Devices, and it's going to call up a dialog box here. And I'm just going to hide this stuff. I'll pull that up a bit. Now you can see in here that I have my compression types and options over on the right, and I can see my graphic on the left. Make sure I'm still on the slice tool. I can highlight any slice and go in and custom set its compression and file format. So if I want a JPEG high for the local news button, I can set that, and I can click on the others and set them as well. I'm going to leave them as GIF. I'll leave that one as a JPEG. And once you've set all of your compressions, you click Save. I will put them in this folder called Site that I've created on my desktop. I'll go down to my Format pull-down menu. Make sure it is set to HTML and Images. I'm going to go into Settings and scroll down to Other because I want to point something out here. By default, it should be okay, but I'm going to scroll through these menus. And when you get to this one, Output Settings, make sure under Optimized Files at the bottom that you check off Put Images in Folder and name the folder Images. Then click OK. By default this should be the case, but if somebody else has used the computer or if you have changed this previously, it will hold the previous settings. So do go in and double check that Put Images in Folder is on and name that folder Images. Then I'll click OK and finally click Save. I'll click OK again. And if I go out to my desktop, there is my HTML file. There are all my images, and you can see here that the file names have carried through from the slice names, appended with the file type at the end. Let me go back to Photoshop. The next step I would do to get my rollovers is actually turn off the layer. And you can see here these are different. I would have to go into each one of these slices and change that to a B. Once I've done that, change them all to a B. Okay, let's assume I've done them all here. I would go File, once again, Save for Web and Devices. So now I would select just the buttons that I want to have as my B version for the rollover, and I can zoom out by going Command minus, make sure I get all of these selected. So only the selected buttons is what I want. Click Save. Highlight that images folder because we're going to put them directly inside of that folder, which means we need to change our settings. So I'll go to Other. I'll scroll through to get the settings for saving files. I'll turn off Put Images in Folder, because if that was on, it would actually generate another folder called Images in here and put my images inside of that. I just want to put it in with the rest of them in the single images folder. So once I've done that, I can click OK. Choose Slices, Selected Slices, then click Save. Do make sure you choose Selected Slices. And that's it for what I need to do in Photoshop as far as creating the slices for that table that will be applied in Dreamweaver. Now let me go out to the desktop though. And I'll just launch that HTML file just to show you the result. And here it is, all sliced. This is how it would manifest itself. It's actually in a web browser right now. And these are all separate images. And my next step would be to go to Dreamweaver and plug these in as rollovers using JavaScript. And that's how you cut slices to generate HTML tables and cut graphics using Adobe Photoshop.